Hey guys, let's get more news about Dallas, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Why former NFL GM believes Cowboys may need perfect NFL draft. Free agency has been a bit of a disaster for the Dallas Cowboys. In addition to losing stalwart left tackle Tyron Smith to the New York Jets, the Cowboys haven't even attempted to replace him or running back Tony Pollard, who signed with the Tennessee Titans. Dallas free agency losses come with the backdrop of not yet extending quarterback Dak Prescott's contract to create added spending flexibility under the cap to address needs across the roster and perhaps retain Smith. ESPN's Mike Tannenbaum, a former general manager of the Jets, suggested the Cowboys were among the teams that risk taking a step back in 2024. They still have needs at left tackle, center, running back, defensive tackle and receiver, Tannenbaum writes, rattling off the Cowboys' lengthy to-do list. While a lot of their resources will be tied up in extensions for Prescott, CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons, it was surprising not to see them make a move on Henry or A.J. Dillon. They deserve credit for outstanding drafting and patience in the past, but they're going to need an almost perfect draft to fill all of their needs. Despite facing one of the league's most constraining salary cap situations, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones vowed before free agency that Dallas would be all in this offseason, ahead of the 2024 campaign. But, after the Cowboys lost out on Smith and have mostly been sitting on the sidelines through free agency's first two waves, Jones is walking back those comments. "I have been more all-in before," Jones told reporters at the NFL annual meeting in Orlando. "By any definition, and I have more all-in to make a run back to the line of scrimmage than I've been to run for 50 yards. Sometimes that is a bigger challenge. That is really the gist of what we're about this year. We've got to get it done." Those comments seem to indicate Jones would be satisfied with the status quo, an NFC East championship followed by a blowout loss to the Green Bay Packers, at home, in the NFC wildcard round. "I think that we have been in a situation where we can get it done with lesser. More doesn't necessarily beat Green Bay. There are other things. Maybe having it better strategically in different spots, but more than necessarily beat them either. So, we're gonna be asked to do some things different because we got some different players." It's worth pointing out that Jones recommitted to head coach Mike McCarthy, so it's difficult to see much changing, strategically, and the Packers seem to lay bare how far the Cowboys are from making a legitimate Super Bowl run in a suddenly hyper-competitive NFC. Jones may be admitting here that the Cowboys weren't necessarily in a position to be all-in free agency, but it's difficult to imagine the status quo being good enough for Dallas to make strides in 2024. The biggest hurdle for Jones and the Cowboys this offseason has been Dallas salary cap constrictions. Even after making a tweak to Prescott's deal, the Cowboys only have $4.99 million in cap space, as of March 25, 2024, the third least spending flexibility in the league. Ex-Pro Bowler bolted Cowboys for the wrong team, analyst says. It was not a huge surprise that Cowboys star running back Tony Pollard landed elsewhere here in the 2024 offseason, not after a year in which he largely disappointed after taking over as the lone occupant of the number one running back slot with the departure of Ezekiel Elliott a year ago. Big things were expected from Pollard, but his rehab from a broken leg slowed him early and his inability to bowl his way for short yardage gains was a limitation that hung over the offense all season. Pollard is more of an upright runner who needs space to use his top-end speed, but he often did not get that last year in Dallas. The Cowboys showed little interest in re-signing him this offseason, and Pollard was one of the first players to bolt his old team on this year's free agent market, agreeing to a deal with the Titans on March 11, 2 days before free agency officially opened. Pollard did fairly well financially, with a 3-year, $22 million contract. But for analyst Alex K. of Bleacher Report, the deal was a big mistake. In a post titled, 2024 NFL Free Agents Who Signed with the Wrong Team, at BR, K wrote that Pollard is one of the players who would come to regret his choice this offseason. After losing franchise stalwart Derrick Henry, the Titans made a pair of splashy moves to boost the offense, bringing in star receiver Calvin Ridley in addition to Pollard. But Pollard is not an ideal fit. The Dallas Cowboys gave Tony Pollard a chance to be the lone star in their backfield last season. He failed to capitalize on the promotion to RB1, though, and entered free agency following a relatively disappointing run as a starter, Kay wrote. He continued, "The move doesn't make a ton of sense for either party. Pollard has made it clear he's best utilized in a platoon approach. He's a shifty, dynamic back who thrives in change of pace and pass-catching situations, and had his best years complementing a more bruising, downhill back in Ezekiel Elliott. Now, though, Pollard will be paired with a similar back, Tyjae Spears, a third-round pick last year who rushed for 453 yards on 100 carries. New Tennessee head coach Brian Callahan will have his work cut out attempting to sort out an equitable timeshare for this backfield pairing. There's a decent chance the waters are further muddied if the Titans come away from the 2024 draft with a much-needed power back to round out the platoon, Kay wrote. Pollard logged 1,005 yards last season, which was good for 12th in the NFL and only 2 yards off 2022's total, 1,007. But he did so on 252 carries, and his average of 4.0 yards per carry was well off the 2022 mark, 5.2 yards per rush. Pollard earned a Pro Bowl spot in 2022. Perhaps he could return to that form in Tennessee, if he is healthy. Pollard said last season that he did not feel comfortable until the Panthers game in Week 10, when he rushed for 61 yards on 12 carries and scored a touchdown for the first time since Week 1. He suffered the fibula injury last January in the playoffs, and had surgery to fix the broken bone. The down year cost him a long-term slot in Dallas. Maybe he can bounce back with the Titans, though. Cowboys could make run at hybrid $70 million three-time Pro Bowler, analyst. Dallas Cowboys fans are hoping the team has some exciting moves ahead after a slow start to the offseason. Bleacher Report's Gary Davenport put together a list of the best fits for some of the top remaining free agents. The NFL analyst makes an argument for the Cowboys pursuing former Seattle Seahawks safety Jamal Adams. The Seahawks opted to release Adams this offseason in a cap savings move for a player who has had unfortunate injuries in recent years. There could also be some appeal from the Dallas Cowboys, Davenport detailed in a March 24, 2024 story titled, 2024 NFL Free Agency, Best Fits for Odell Beckham Jr., Top Remaining Players. Dallas, and other NFL teams, have run a lot of three safety looks in recent seasons, and while the addition of veteran Eric Kendricks brought some badly needed stability at linebacker, there's not much certainty behind him. Adams could be an interesting add in a hybrid role, and he'd help satiate a fan base that has groused of late about the lack of a splash addition in free agency this year. Seattle moved on from Adams as it became difficult to justify the defender's 4-year, $70.5 million contract. The Seahawks had an out in Adams deal and opted to take the dead cap hit rather than be on the hook for the three-time Pro Bowler's final 2 seasons of his bloated deal. The Cowboys signing Adams would be a much different scenario. Dallas would not be giving up significant draft capital to land Adams like Seattle did. Adams is likely looking to sign a 1-year, prove-it deal to re-establish his presence as an NFL starter. The veteran missed significant time in all 4 of his seasons with the Seahawks. Adams played in a combined 10 games over the last 2 seasons, making a lucrative contract in free agency unlikely. The defender posted 48 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hits, and 2 pass deflections during his 9 appearances in 2023. Assuming the price is right, signing Adams offers Dallas little risk while still possessing some upside. Adams has the ability to play both linebacker and safety. The veteran would give new Cowboys defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer a versatile chess piece to use in 2024. There is no bigger stage than Dallas, and a strong season for Adams could land him a better contract in 2025. And you, fan, what do you think of the situation of Jamal Adams? Leave your opinion in the comments.